Hello and welcome to episode 805 of the Our Lady of Fatima podcast. It is my pleasure to be with you this morning. My name is Terrence M. Stanton. We're recording on Friday, February 16th, 2024, in the year of our Lord Jesus Christ. Let us begin with the Friday prayer by the great saint and doctor of the Church, Alphonsus Liguori, to the Most Blessed Virgin Mary to obtain love towards her and Jesus Christ. O Mary, I already know that thou art the most noble, the most sublime, the most pure, the most beautiful, the most benign, the most holy, in a word, the most amiable of all creatures. O that all knew thee, my lady, and loved thee as thou dost merit. But I am consoled when I remember that in heaven and on earth there are so many happy souls who live enamored of thy goodness and beauty. Above all, I rejoice that God himself loves thee alone more than he loves all men and angels together. My most amiable queen, I, a miserable sinner, love thee also, but I love thee too little. I desire a greater and more tender love towards thee, and this thou must obtain for me, since to love thee is a great mark of predestination, and a grace which God only grants to those whom he will save. I see also, my mother, that I am indeed under great obligations to thy Son. I see that he merits infinite love. Thou who desirest nothing else but to see him loved, hast to obtain me this grace above all others. Obtain me great love for Jesus Christ. Thou obtain us all that thou willest from God. Then be graciously pleased to obtain me the grace to be so united to the divine will that I may never more be separated from it. I do not ask of thee earthly goods, honors, or riches. I ask thee for that which thy heart desires most for me. I wish to love my God. Is it possible that thou refusest to second this my desire, which is so pleasing to thee? No. Thou already helpest me. Already thou prayest for me. Pray, pray, and cease not to pray, until thou seest me safe in heaven, beyond the possibility of evermore losing my Lord, and certain to love him forever, together with thee, my dearest mother. We return to Meditations for Lent by St. Thomas Aquinas. This was published initially by Sheed and Ward in 1937. Today is Friday. This is subtitled The Crown of Thorns, and we begin with a reading from Canticles 3. Go forth, ye daughters of Zion, and see King Solomon in the diadem wherewith his mother crowned him in the day of his espousals, and in the day of the joy of his heart. St. Thomas says, this is the voice of the church, inviting the souls of the faithful to behold the marvelous beauty of her spouse. For the daughters of Zion, who are they but the daughters of Jerusalem, holy souls, the citizens of that city which is above, who with the angels enjoy the peace that knows no end, and, in consequence, look upon the glory of the Lord. 1. Go forth, shake off the disturbing commerce of this world, so that, with minds set free, you may be able to contemplate him whom you love, and see King Solomon, the true peacemaker, that is to say, Christ our Lord, in the diadem wherewith his mother crowned him. As though the church said, look on Christ, garbed with flesh for us, the flesh he took from the flesh of his mother. For it is his flesh that is here called a diadem, the flesh which Christ assumed for us, the flesh in which he died and destroyed the reign of death, the flesh in which, rising once again, he brought to us the hope of resurrection. This is the diadem of which St. Paul speaks. We see Jesus for the suffering of death crowned with glory and honor. Hebrews 2:9. His mother is spoken of as crowning him because Mary the Virgin it was who from her own flesh gave him flesh in the day of his espousals, that is, in the hour of his incarnation, when he took to himself the church not having spot or wrinkle, Ephesians 5:27, the hour again when God was joined with man, and in the day of the joy of his heart, for the joy and the gaiety of Christ is for the human race salvation and redemption, And coming home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my sheep that was lost." Luke 15:6. 2. We can, however, refer the whole of this text simply and literally to the Passion of Christ. For Solomon, foreseeing through the centuries the Passion of Christ, was uttering a warning for the daughters of Zion, that is, for the Jewish people. Go forth and see King Solomon, that is Christ, in his diadem, that is to say, the crown of thorns, with which his mother, the synagogue, has crowned him, in the day of his espousals, the day when he joined to himself the church, and in the day of the joy of his heart, the day in which he rejoiced that by his passion he was delivering the world from the power of the devil. Go forth, therefore, and leave behind the darkness of unbelief, and see, understand with your minds that he who suffers as man is really God. Go forth beyond the gates of your city, that you may see him on Mount Calvary crucified. So ends the meditation. He is the God-man, my friends. He is our Lord Jesus Christ. Our Lord asks us, "Who do you say that I am?" There were Jews who accepted him. They became Christians. There were Jews who did not, and became the cabal of those who crucified him. Who do we say that the Lord is? I believe it was C.S. Lewis, and others have had variations of this, like Dr. Peter Kraft, talking about Jesus being either Lord, liar, or lunatic. He either says, or I should say he is who he says he is. He's the Lord. He's the God-man. He's the second person of the most holy Trinity, in which case we have to worship him. Or he's lying about that, in which case he was a very bad man. Or he's a lunatic. Someone who says they're God and they're not lying about it, and maybe they don't have the mental capacity to reason properly, and they really think they are when they're not. Well, that person's crazy. That person's a lunatic. But Jesus is who he says he is. He is Lord. He is God. He proved it by numerous miracles throughout the New Testament, and many more that weren't listed. And he rose from the dead. A mere man of his own volition cannot rise from the dead. Jesus Christ can, because he's God. We must worship him. If you're not Catholic, you need to convert. Jesus started one religion, one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. If you're a Catholic who's been away from the faith, come on back. You know how you get back in? You go to confession, and you're back. I don't care if you've been away from the confession for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Go to confession. Get right with the Lord. You've seen how nuts this world is. People going bananas over a alleged virus. Quick, shoot me up with an experimental gene therapy made from murdered babies. I'm terrified of dying from the flu. Why are you so scared? Why are people so scared of dying? If we die in a state of grace, you know where we go? Heaven. Might go to purgatory first to be purified. If we have venial sins on our soul, or attachment to sins, venial sins on our soul. But we're going to be with God and all of his angels and saints if we've responded to his grace and died in the order of sanctity. So what do we have to fear about death? Absolutely nothing at all. So don't be afraid of all this nonsense that's going on in the world. Don't believe what every politician, most of whom are on the take from pharmaceutical companies and oil companies and big tech companies and so forth and so on, or government bureaucrats who try to tell you that you need to take an experimental gene therapy or this shot or that shot. All right. A lot of these people are corrupt. Not all, but most of these people are corrupt. And they have financial enticements, financial incentives to getting you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do. So use your brain. Think logically. Use the brain that the good Lord gave you to think logically, have some common sense, and make rational decisions in life. And if you're a Catholic who's away from the faith, you need to come back and go to confession. I recommend you start going to the traditional Latin Mass or Divine Liturgy. And if you're not Catholic, you need to convert. And that's all there is to it. Let us conclude by once again mentioning Helping Autism through Learning and Outreach, available on the web at halo-soma.org. That's halo-soma.org. Also, please tune into episodes 277 and 548 of the Our Lady of Fatima podcast. Those episodes and that website have to do with RPM, which is an acronym for Rapid Prompting Method, a system of communication for non-speakers. Before my niece was about 8 years old, we didn't even know her favorite color. Now we know she's a comprehensive genius who composes music, poetry, very skilled in regards to mathematics. She even knows foreign languages. Can you imagine how frustrated you would be, how sad you'd be, if you were unable to communicate even basic things to your friends and loved ones? If you just had all of this information inside of you, but you were unable to get it out. This has been as big of a breakthrough, speaking of RPM, in terms of being able to communicate, as sign language was for the deaf, or you can also look at Braille in terms of being able to read for the blind. But you can't use a tool unless you know about it. That's where you come in. Please spread this information to as many people as possible, and may God richly bless you for doing so. Communication is a human right. We have to always keep that in our minds. Please say an Ave Maria for yours truly. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Our Lady of Fatima podcast, and I will talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, and God love you.